Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hope Without Sight with your host, Sailor Cooper. And
this is your co-host, Tyler Evans.
Yes, on today's episode, it's episode 33 of Hope Without Sight. We recorded 2 episodes in one day. Coming along, we have an alignment coach and therapist who has overcome a lot of trauma in her life, but she got out of it, and now she helps others. She's from France, but now lives in Switzerland, so of course she speaks French. So if you can introduce yourself in French, that'd be great. Please welcome Monika Martin. How you doing? Comment ça va?
Hi, Sailor. Hi, Matthew. Thank you so much for having me today. Je vais très bien, merci.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yes, so tell us about yourself. What
Sure.
caused you to be in that trauma, and how did you get out of it?
Okay, so I grew up in a very toxic and abusive family. My parents have had a very chaotic relationship. There was domestic violence.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so I grew up in that environment, and there was obviously a lot of things going on between my parents, but my sisters and I also went through physical and emotional abuse with my parents. So that's kind of like how my life started. And as a child, I never felt safe. I was always anxious, and early on, I started to develop some physical symptoms. For example, I always had a tummy ache, and all sorts of things. And when I was when I turned in my teenage years, I started to have really bad panic attacks. And oh, sorry, I thought you were going to ask a question.
No.
Sorry. Okay, so I started to have really bad panic attacks, and and my physical symptoms just progressed. And it was in 2020 when
our favorite year.
Yeah, it was a really difficult year for a lot of people, and it was actually during the first lockdown here in Europe. I started to have chronic pain, like really, really bad muscle pain all over the body. I needed to sleep all the time. I was like, okay, something is off. Something is really bad. And I had been on this kind of like spiritual search for a very long time already. But I had not found a way to heal myself. So back in 2020, I really started to have very chronic back pain and fatigue. And it was really, really bad. And things at work kind of changed after the first lockdown, which there was a change in management and all sort of things. So the work environment became toxic for different reasons. And in 2021, summer 2021, I had a burnout. So that's when I had to, I was like, I have been doing this, like healing stuff for about 20 years, and I still feel like, like crap, basically. So how did I get here? And that's when I realized that I didn't want to acknowledge my childhood trauma. So I wasn't going to heal. I really had to go deep within myself and allow myself to just go through that process of healing the trauma and really acknowledging it, acknowledging the things that I went through and that I just couldn't, live my life, get out of this toxic environment, live my life, but not heal myself. Because, you can get out of a very toxic environment, but the environment is still going to stay within you, especially if you grew up in that kind of environment, because that's how your brain was programmed.
Exactly. That's how it was programmed. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so, I mean, so if the way I understand it is you were doing healing for the past 20 years, but it never
Yeah.
worked. You always
Yeah.
felt anxious. How?
It was like a band-aid. I was going to people, I was going to doctors, I was doing alternative medicine, I was doing acupuncture, and I was also, going to healers. But it was just a band-aid. I wasn't, I was feeling better for just, a few days or maybe a few weeks if I was lucky. But then it would always come back. So I was just, spending money and spending my time and energy trying to find things outside of myself to heal, when actually everything was within myself. And it was really about me processing my emotions and working with healing my nervous system, which was very dysregulated because of all the trauma that I had gone through. So it was more of an inner thing than trying to find a solution outside of myself.
So did you just go to therapy to heal, or did you just heal spiritually?
So I don't think you can heal spiritually when you have a dysregulated nervous system. For me personally, I had been on this, healing journey for a really long time, but what was missing was the embodiment part. I just didn't work with my body because I didn't want to be in my body, which is what a lot of people experiencing trauma feel like. They don't want to be in the body.
No,
so I had never actually worked with the body. And it's when I had burnout that I realized that, okay, so first, there's the childhood trauma that I have to acknowledge. And second, I really have to work with my body. I have to be in my body. And that was the process of, working with my emotions and working with my nervous system.
Right. You worked with your emotions.
Yes. And, I also, when I had my burnout, I realized, okay, first I was sent to a psychiatrist because I was on sick leave, and I was sent to a psychiatrist by my doctor. But he just wanted me to take antidepressant, and this is not what I wanted. So I just changed. And then I found this really good doctor. And she was working with the psychotherapist. So I started the therapy with a psychotherapist. I also started shiatsu treatment, and I started again acupuncture. But, it was about me working on myself, but also getting outside help. And,
exactly.
when I started this process, it took me just 2 months to actually heal from burnout.
2 months. Wow.
Yeah. And just really feel empowered and more resilient. And the anxiety that I have is crippling and the same for panic attacks. And yeah, so it really changed my life, because that's when I had my burnout that I actually found my purpose after doing this healing work. That's when I found my purpose, and I knew exactly everything was clear in my head, because before it wasn't the case. I was going from job to job, and I didn't know really what I wanted to do. I had an idea. I wanted to work in that field, but I didn't know what, I didn't know how, I didn't know what kind of training to do. So, yeah.
So you took no medication at all? Because
No.
I've heard antidepressants can make you much worse than you are. And that's happened to a lot of people. And so I'm thankful that you didn't.
Yeah, I didn't, because I knew that my body was trying to tell me something. And I was like, my body has been screaming things to me for ages, but I'm not able to understand its language. Now is the time for me to really try to understand what my body wants.
Exactly.
And I didn't want to go on medication, because I knew that it would just, cut me off my symptoms, so to speak, and I wouldn't have the opportunity to actually heal the root cause of, all the things that I was going through.
And so now that you've healed, do you still have these panic attacks? Is it still a work in progress, or are you free?
Okay. So I haven't had a panic attack in a really, really, really long time. However, just like normal people, I still deal with anxiety once in a while, depending on the situation or the challenges, but I don't have crippling anxiety like I used to.
because there's
Yeah.
I was on a previous, I had someone on a previous episode of Hope Without Sight, and they gave me an eye opener. There's a difference between mental health and mental illness. Mental health is caused by like everyday normal stressors in life, like you'll have normal anxiety. Mental illness is more chronic. Mental illness is a condition that affects the way you think and act, and it's more severe, it's long term, and it requires more treatment.
So I would say I wouldn't call them like mental illnesses, because to me it feels more like an imbalance.
An imbalance,
yeah. And
right.
from what I have learned, because I did a certification in somatic embodiment and regulation strategies. And what I have learned from that, which is also what I have learned from my own experience, is that a lot of things that people call mental illnesses are actually a dysregulation of the nervous system.
Yeah.
So if you're able to heal the nervous system, you can actually heal yourself. Depression, anxiety. I have heard people heal bipolar disorder just by working with a trauma coach and working on healing their nervous system. So, I'm really not against medication, because in some cases it's, some people really need to have those, but at the same time, you need to work on the root cause issue of your imbalance or disorder.
Right.
If you just take meds, you're never going to heal.
No, it makes sense. Meds don't heal the disorder; they just keep it in check and balance.
When it's possible.
But what makes you get past it is the trauma, is healing from the trauma overall. So that's why you when having diseases like bipolar disorder, you need both psychotherapy and medication.
Yep.
And so now you're an alignment coach.
Yes.
You teach people how to stay calm in life and avoid panic attacks. Because honestly, I have anxiety like normal. I mean, especially I'm on an entrepreneurial venture, starting up a business, and there comes a lot with that. There's anxiety with that. Can you give me tips on how to manage that and stay aligned?
So it's more an anxiety that is caused to a very specific situation now in the present. We're not talking here about anxiety that is caused by a trauma from, your childhood, for example, or a past event in your life. Right. We're talking here about specifically because you're on this entrepreneur venture, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have anxiety around this, when you feel the anxiety, and this is something that people actually do not like to do, and I hated doing this, but just sit down with yourself and let yourself feel whatever it is that you're feeling. And then ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Because emotions are here to let you know something. And emotions needs to be expressed in order to be released.
They do.
So it's actually very easy when you learn how to handle your emotions, life gets easier.
It does. Like you just have to manage it. And also do meditation sessions every day. I don't know if you've done those.
Oh yeah, meditation works very well as well, especially, when you want to start your day and, you want, to be in that really good positive energy. Meditation is also great. But when you're in the moment and you're really feeling the anxiety, I know for some people it's hard to actually do a meditation because, they are too anxious to even kind of take an action. So if that's the case, just sit down with yourself and just let yourself feel. Because when you let yourself feel, the emotion will be released, and it will take maybe just a few minutes, and then, it will be gone. But if you fight against it, it's going to be way harder. It's going to take much longer, and it's always going to come back at some point.
It is. It's always going to come back. So don't fight it. Just sit in the moment. And I find that too. Whenever I just try and calm down, and it all goes away eventually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, hello?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're still here. Okay. So
Yes, of course.
I see you have a website here,
Yes,
embodyyourflow.com. What's on that website?
Yes. So it's my website. You can find my bio, my services. You can also find, I have created a free meditation for alignment and self-empowerment. My podcast as well. And, just also my contacts if you want to contact me or follow me on social media.
Oh, so you
I'm
give
actually, sorry.
you give a free meditation as well. It's great.
Yes, it's a guided meditation for alignment and self-empowerment. And basically, it's kind of like a journey where you go, talk to your heart, talk to your body, talk to your soul, talk to your mind.
That's great. That's great. And so now you help others do the same thing. And so does your past still bother you, or are you free from that?
No, I'm actually at peace with my past. I cut ties with my family for, many years now. So I'm at peace with my past. Like, it
That's
doesn't
good.
bother me. And I am very much aware of what I went through, but I also know what I have overcome, which is way bigger. Like, it's actually a big achievement. And so it's something that actually matters most than what I went through.
Exactly. And you've overcome so much. And because I've heard a lot of people, who've had the past in their life, they don't overcome it because they don't want to. They'll get into drugs, alcohol, and I believe you've stayed away from that, which I applaud you for.
Yeah, so I am, because so any kind of addiction is, like, the root cause of any kind of addiction is trauma.
Yeah.
Because an addiction is a way for people to self-soothe. So I didn't have that. I was never attracted, like, I don't drink alcohol. Like, I don't drink alcohol. Like, I don't like the taste of it. I've never wanted to take drugs because I don't like, and I've never wanted to take drugs because first of all, wasn't interested. And second of all, I knew that I wouldn't be able to be in control of what would happen. Like, I didn't know what would happen after I take, I take drugs. So, and I used to be also like, I had a trauma response, which was to be like a real control freak. I wanted to be in control of everything. So that made me feel safe. So obviously drugs didn't make me feel safe at all. So I didn't want to try that because I had no control of the process.
Exactly. You had no control. And so, as I understand it, your trauma that you were exposed to, you were never exposed to addiction, which is why you're not addicted to anything.
No. So what do you mean by I've never been exposed to any? So my parents were not addicts.
They were. I was trying to get at that. Your parents were not addicts. I see.
No. What's funny though is that my grandparents or my grandfathers on both sides were alcoholics. And so my father didn't want to drink because he didn't want to be like his father. However, my parents together didn't need to drink to be really abusive towards each other. So, it's kind of like what I said, you can get out of the toxic environment, or you can try to do things differently. And I think for my parents, it was different because obviously, I guess we just didn't have the same awareness.
Right.
But I guess he wanted to make things differently because he never drank, like he didn't want to drink, and we never had any kind of alcohol at home. But that didn't keep them from actually having the same kind of behaviors than their own parents. So yeah, I don't think that being around addicts makes you an addict. I think that it's more of the trauma and how you respond to that trauma.
And how to respond to it. Yes, I see.
Yeah.
I see. Oh, awesome. So you're shining your light in the world, which is great. You're helping others live a life more in balance.
Yeah, I help people overcome a dark night of the soul. So yeah. And that's kind of like what I went through, to be honest. It was a long journey, and my mission, I guess I call it that way, is to help, people get through the process more easily and faster as well.
Right. And so have you worked with people that have bipolar disorder and all those other?
No.
Not yet. Just
No.
people been through trauma like you.
Like my job is not really is not so much on trauma. It's more about helping people finding themselves, finding their happiness, finding their purpose, and creating a life that they truly love. So a life that is aligned with who they are. So obviously at some point, trauma, everyone has trauma anyways, whether it's neglect or abuse, it's trauma. There is no big T or little t. So, like the blocks that we have those blocks because of trauma. So, but I don't work specifically with people who have mental imbalances such as bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. That's not what I'm doing at the moment. Yeah.
You just help people live a life in balance. I see.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
We can sum it up that way. Yeah.
Well,
and a life that is true to who they are.
Yeah.
Because we live in a society where there's so much programming.
There is. There's so
that,
much.
We lose this connection to self.
You do. You should always be your true self and don't always listen to others,
Yeah, it's about, finding yourself within yourself.
Exactly. Finding yourself within yourself. Well, do you have any future goals? And if so, like, what are they?
Do I have goals? Yes. On a professional?
Personal and professional, yeah, both.
Okay, professional level, I would like at some point to create a course, like an evergreen course. I would love to do that. The work that I do, like it really needs to be tailored because it's like each person is unique. But yeah, I've been thinking about creating a course that I could, that I could provide to a lot of people. And personally, yeah, I would like to move out of Switzerland. Yeah, I would. I mean, it's a pretty country. Yeah. It's, and I mean, during the pandemic, it was better than other countries, especially in Europe. But yeah, like my heart is somewhere else and I just need to figure it out where.
I think if we create a course and sell it and make money off of it to help others, that'd be fabulous. Because me and Tyler, our goals are to have this podcast and inspire others. So because that's what Hopewithoutsight is about, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all right, so I don't believe I have anything else for you, but Tyler, do you have anything else for our guest?
I think you covered a lot of ground. So in your personal life, do you have children or anything, or?
I don't have children. I have 3 dogs though, but I don't have children. I've always wanted to have children, but I haven't found the right person yet. So I'm still looking. Very much so.
Well, hopefully you will.
Yeah.
And us too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if nothing else, if you don't have any questions for us, also, who knows, we would love to be on your podcast as well.
So I am actually working on season 2 of my podcast, and it's all about love and relationships. So if you want to share about love and relationships, let me know. It's
Yeah.
about couples, overcoming challenges and, being stronger after.
Yeah, I'll be happy
All
to do.
right.
Okay, so to close out, first of all, thanks for being on the show. What
Thank you for
advice?
having me. It was a pleasure.
What advice would you give to anybody who's struggling in life, especially someone who's been through trauma like you have and doesn't see a way out?
So honestly, I guess I would tell them what I would tell myself if I could go back in time. I would acknowledge a trauma, find a coach, and work on regulating your dysregulated nervous system. And
Yes.
also one thing, like you may never get the apology that you're looking for, but you don't need an apology, and you don't need to forgive in order to move on and
No.
live your best life.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
So that's what I would say. And, wish you the best, because it was for me a really tough journey. And if the advice that I just gave can make someone's journey way easier, then, my job is done.
But you've made it. You've made it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being on the show, and
Thank you
please
for having
give
me.
it up
was
for
really
Monika
nice.
Martin.
Thank you.
Yes. Stay
Have a
stay
great
blessed,
day.
everybody. We hope you feel renewed, inspired, and encouraged, like you can just carry on and conquer the world.
Please hit the subscribe button on all platforms and tell your friends and family to do the same.
Blessings to all.